Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Def, the TDF.
It's to die.
Let's get right into it, man. Yeah, y'all seen the title, so y'all already know what I'm about to talk about. I'd go ahead and talk about Scar and MUFASA. And both of these characters are lions off The Lion King. I know everybody done seen The Lion King, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the movie. But basically, I just want to go ahead and just talk about two of the three kings that were in that movie. The three kings were MUFASA, Scar for some time, and then later on Simba, right? Now, I never liked Simba. I don't really fuck with Simba, so I'm not even gonna include him. I'm not even gonna talk about him. But Scar and MUFASA, them being brothers, I think it's just very interesting their personalities and some of the traits that they had, how they chose to go about certain things. I think it's an interesting topic to discuss, and it relates to the topic of TDF. So yeah, let's go ahead and just break this shit down. First of all, MUFASA, obviously MUFASA was the good guy in the movie, right? And then Scar, of course, he's the evil one. But there's just certain things about MUFASA when you watch this shit as an adult that you just can't help but notice. The first thing is, this nigga MUFASA got way too comfortable in his kingdom. Way too fucking comfortable. Secondly, he lacked wisdom. Third, he lacked discernment. And then fourth, he wasn't shrewd and he wasn't smart. This nigga MUFASA should have been seen Scar coming. Been seen Scar coming, man. I mean, right from the first scene of the entire movie, after the whole montage of Simba's ceremony, when MUFASA and Zazu pull up on Scar, just some of the comments Scar made should have been, you know what I'm saying, red flags from MUFASA. So I don't understand how the shit went over his head. Like, for example, when MUFASA and Zazu pulled up on Scar in the beginning, scolding him about not showing up to the ceremony, and then nigga Zazu told Scar that as the king's brother, he should have been first in line for the ceremony. This nigga Scar replies by saying, I was first in line until the little hairball was born. See, some shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, MUFASA, you the king, and here's this motherfucker. He's your brother, but he's talking down on your son that was just born. And you're not gonna say nothing about that? All MUFASA said was that hairball is gonna be your future king one day. So all you doing is just agitating this motherfucker. It's obvious that Scar don't fuck with both of these niggas. Right from the jump, you can just peep that. He don't give a fuck about neither of them. Then, when then later on in the conversation, when Scar's had enough, you know what I'm saying? Scar, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, that nigga was a TDF. Then when Scar had enough of the conversation and started walking off, MUFASA was like, don't turn your back on me, Scar. And this nigga Scar replies with, you shouldn't turn your back on me. Now hold up. If you the king, and you tell somebody else that's in your kingdom not to turn their back on you, because of course, obviously, you're the king, you know what I'm saying? It's an authority thing. Like, you can't have people turning their back on you and walking away from you and shit while you talking to them and you the fucking king. That makes sense. So if you address that and then the motherfucker tells you not to turn your back on them, what is that telling you? So literally from the beginning of the movie, we can see where Scar's mind was at. How the fuck did MUFASA not see this? Hey, why did MUFASA fail to pay attention to Scar's comments about him and Simba? Honestly, if you think about it, it was MUFASA's lack of discernment and wisdom that got him killed. It's one of those things you gotta think about. See, as a kid, when you watch it, you feel so bad for MUFASA, like, damn, you know, Scar was his brother, he loved his brother, blah blah. Nah, you can't say all that, because at the beginning of the movie, they was basically just pulling up on Scar talking shit to this nigga. MUFASA should have been smarter. He got too comfortable. And as a king, you can't afford to be doing that shit. If you a nigga with the king mentality, a king mindset, you have to understand that there's gonna be niggas that want what you have. You cannot afford to get comfortable. You cannot afford to get comfortable. That nigga MUFASA should have either banished Scar or had him killed. Those were his only two options, and he decided to let that nigga linger around and bullshit around, and it ultimately got him killed. Now let's go to that clip scene. So this is during the stampede and everything. MUFASA pulled up, saved Simba, you know. Then he ends up leaping onto the cliff and he starts climbing up. Now hold up real quick. Look at this picture right here. You telling me this nigga Mufasa couldn't have just climbed to the right and just got off where Simba was? He couldn't have just climbed to the edge and shit, just, you know, moved to his right and just got right there? This is the type of stupid shit that Mufasa was doing that got him killed, man. He climbed all the way up to the top of the cliff and seen Scar. Now you would think as soon as if he was a motherfucker that understood the game, understood the situation that he was in, as soon as he would have seen Scar, he would have climbed down or some shit. But this nigga decides to plead to Scar, calling him brother and shit. Now hold up. This nigga Mufasa didn't call Scar his brother throughout the entire movie. Like all the way up until that point, he had not called him brother once. Now all of a sudden he in some shit. Now he trying to call the nigga brother and shit. Think about this. So it makes me wonder, maybe this motherfucker actually did know a little something about Scar. Cause he said, brother, help me. Like, hold up. Why the fuck would Scar help you? He done straight up told you that he would have been next in line if your son hadn't been born. Like, you know what? You should know. Like, this is my problem with Mufasa. As the king, you should know where this nigga Scar's mind is at. You should be able to understand shit. But it seems he didn't. So he calls the nigga brother, and of course Scar looks at him like, nigga, you done fucked up, and he throws his ass off the cliff. But this is another thing I didn't understand. Mufasa had the nerve to look surprised when Scar said what he said, which was, long live the king. Like, Mufasa, what the fuck are you doing? And let's move on to Scar. So this nigga Scar, right from the beginning of the movie, you can see that he understands the situation that he is in. He's basically the ridiculed brother, the nigga that didn't become the king. He's basically, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if he was technically banished or if he had just chosen to just kind of just go off and do his own thing and be in his own little place. That's probably what he did. So this nigga Scar was strategic, he was calculated, he was deft. For the most part, he wasn't no punk. When Mufasa and Zazu were doing that bullshit in the beginning, he ended up walking off. He ain't sit up there and take that shit. Then when he started going about actionizing his plan, he got Simba comfortable around him. Think about it. He got the future king comfortable around him to where Simba really thought that he was that cool ass uncle. So after he got Simba comfortable, that's when he was able to set that nigga up and then ultimately get his brother Mufasa killed. Now, let me go ahead and say this real quick before some of you guys get the wrong idea. I'm not saying that Scar was a good guy, and I'm not necessarily saying Mufasa was a bad guy. All I'm doing is just analyzing both of these niggas' personalities and their mentalities as far as kings are concerned. That's all. Scar was a piece of shit for what he did to Mufasa. Period. But as far as his mindset, I mean, he was on some shit. This nigga was strategic, calculated, he was deft. He wasn't no punk. He got Simba comfortable, and he went about actionizing his plan. Now, Scar's downfall, where he fucked up was he kept fucking with those hyenas. He kept trusting those hyenas. And from the beginning, we could see that them hyenas, they were just goofy as shit. Don't get me wrong, they were funny as hell, but they couldn't do nothing right. They couldn't get nothing done. They never listened to that nigga. But another thing I noticed about Scar is that they had to dumb down his character. Because if you compare Scar at the beginning of the movie, the shit that he was on, how he was, you know what I'm saying, manipulative, sneaky, doing his little thing, his little strategic shit. You compare that guy to the dude that became king, it's like it's two different niggas. It doesn't make sense for that character to all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, be sitting on a rock having Zazu in the cage singing to him and shit. Like, first of all, Zazu should have been dead. I mean, I would have thought that Scar would have had that nigga killed or something. But my point is, it doesn't make sense for him to go out of his way to be king just to fuck everything up. You get what I'm saying? Like, Scar done proven that he was much smarter than that. Realistically, the kingdom should have been fine under his rule, but if they would have did that, you know what I'm saying, it would have sent a different message in the movie and shit, so I understand why I didn't do that. But yeah, in conclusion, Scar was definitely more of a TDF than Mufasa. As a king, you gotta pay attention to your kingdom. You gotta watch your enemies, man. You gotta get rid of your enemies, because if you don't get rid of your enemies, they just gonna get rid of you. And then when you want some shit, you gotta have a solid plan for it. Then when you have that plan, you gotta go about actionizing it. Another thing is, if you decide you're gonna involve people in your plan, you gotta make sure they're competent. They can do their part. They can play their part and they can play it well. And that's where Scar fucked up with the hyenas. You gotta pay attention to what people do and not what they say. So if what somebody is saying is contrary to what they do, just focus on what they're doing. But also, if people are making slick ass comments and shit, you also gotta pay attention to that shit too. That's where Mufasa fucked up. Mufasa would have paid some attention. He would have been peeped that Scar wasn't fucking with him. But not only was he not fucking with him, he was plotting on that nigga kingdom. And then the last thing is, don't get too comfortable. You know what I'm saying? As a king, you're supposed to enjoy yourself from time to time, of course. But don't sit there and get all relaxed and get comfortable. And that's where both of them niggas fucked up, actually. Mufasa got too comfortable. I see Mufasa, you could tell he didn't see Scar as a threat to him because he was so much bigger than him. And actually, in the beginning, they had a back and forth about that. When Mufasa asked Scar if he was challenging him, when Scar told him not to turn his back on him. And Scar basically broke it down. See, Scar understood his situation. He broke it down. He basically told Mufasa, look, when it comes to brute strength, you got the lion's share, but when it comes to the brains, nigga, that's me. He straight up told him that shit. Scar told Mufasa right to his face, nigga, I'm smarter than you. You just stronger. Mufasa still didn't do shit about it. So it's like, this nigga Mufasa had chance after chance after chance, and he just wasn't getting it. And in the end, nigga got thrown off a cliff. It is what it is, man. Next time, you gotta pay attention. You have to pay attention. But yeah, man, that was about it. As far as this video goes, that was just my point of view on The Lion King. I know they about to come out with another live action movie and shit, so I figured I might as well just put this one out there. Well, okay, that's it, man. Y'all be easy and y'all be safe out here.